Welcome to episode 84 of the Cycling Europe podcast. My name is Andrew Sykes and I'm back home in Yorkshire after my travels up to Shetland and Orkney, and hopefully you were able to hear all about that by listening to episode 83, part 1, Shetland, part 2, Orkney. Now, over the years, a few people have suggested that I get in contact with Wheels to Wander. Wheels to Wander are a Dutch couple, Eric and Maudi. And that's what I did earlier this summer. And in this episode of the podcast, you're going to hear the chat that I had with Eric a few weeks ago. He's in the Netherlands, I was here in Yorkshire, and I began by asking him to introduce himself.
My name is Eric. I live in the Netherlands, and with my partner Maudi, we cycled the world. We started in 2018 from the Netherlands to Southeast Asia. Truly an adventure of a lifetime, and we are hooked on the adventure life. And we're currently at the moment back in the Netherlands working to go for a 2.0 version of what we were doing. So that's a super exciting proposition, and we're very much looking forward to that. We're working behind the scenes, and we can't wait to get at it again.
Okay, well, perhaps we'll have a chat about whatever Wheels to Wander 2.0 is in a few minutes. But I think it's worth pointing out that in these podcasts at the end, I normally say, if you'd like to get in contact, or if you've got any suggestions for the podcasts, please get in contact and we'll take it from there. And quite a few people over the years have mentioned Wheels to Wander. Why do you think that people have suggested that you should be a contributor to this podcast?
Super interesting question. First of all, let me say thank you to all the people who requested that. Yeah, that's amazing. We are passionate about what we're doing. We really like to represent bicycle touring the best we can through our videos. Of course, there's also always an element of make-believe when you're editing the videos. We try to approach reality, but also present it in a digestible way. So what I hope is that our honesty shines through, and at the same time provide some entertainment as well. So perhaps that could be an aspect of why people think we would be an interesting party to speak to in this podcast.
Now, you're Dutch and you live in the Netherlands, and presumably you were brought up in the Netherlands. And as everybody knows, the Netherlands is kind of the centre of the cycling world. And I'm not going to ask you the question, when did you start cycling? Because if I asked any Dutch person, when did you start cycling? They'd probably say, well, I've always cycled. In the Netherlands, more or less everybody is on a bike for practical reasons, traveling to work, doing their shopping, going to school, etc. It's a normal thing to do, far more normal than in a country, say, like England or Britain. But what made you decide to take it to the next level, and what made you decide to go around the world on a bike?
It started with a British person. His name is Peter Gostelow. Perhaps you know him from the Back Africa cycle. I met him in 2009 in Portugal, where I was working on it was an Earthship build project, like an off-the-grid housing idea. And I was just amazed that this solo person was heading for Cape Town or South Africa. And I met him in Portugal, so Africa was still completely in front of him. And I was just thinking about that, like, what kind of adventure, what a different way of life. And I started following his blog. And it was just amazing to read all these adventures. The ups and downs, some lows, but some really high ups as well. And I was thinking like, this is something I want to do as well. But I was always hesitant about going at it alone like he did. I felt I personally was not ready, or perhaps even not the person to do such a big adventure alone. And I always kind of dreamt of having a partner to do such a big adventure with. And lo and behold, I meet Maudi, and in like perhaps in like the 7 years we were together at that time, we decided to embark on this adventure. So it's just like I have to say it's an amazing privilege to find somebody with the same adventure spirit. That's kind of my angle.
And what were you doing at the time when you got the idea? Were you working? Were you a student? What did you have to give up in order to go and cycle around the world?
Yeah, not too much actually. I graduated as a building engineer. So I have a bachelor's degree in engineering. It's housing engineering for the most part. And when I worked at an architectural firm for a while, I was really kind of disillusioned with the way the weeks went by in a boring fashion, just sitting behind the computer, working on a project for several months, and zooming out each day and then looking at the drawings. Like the first week is kind of exciting, everything is new, but then it's just faffing about with all these small things that have to slightly move a little bit. It was just boring. So sorry to say that for all the people working in that space, but for me it was I had to quit that. So I was very fortunate that at the time, several of my friends who had like a student jobs, I could take over several of their student kind of jobs with mutual friends. So it was with friends of friends who were also my friends, working with them. It was a privilege. I had like 3 part-time jobs, and I had some free time on hand, and in between I could do the things I like to do more. Like I did several survival and bushcraft courses, also in Great Britain, in Scotland. I did 2 courses. It was just absolutely fantastic, and it set me up for even more adventure I wanted to pursue. And yeah, and then Maudi and I we clicked on this idea to cycle to Southeast Asia. It was still a year and a half away. Actually, I got another job just to have more income, to create a better foundation, more sustainable foundation, to be out for 2 years on the road.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you, how did you prepare? Thinking, well, he's going to say, I bought a bike and I bought the equipment. Not many people prepare to go around the world by actually going on a course in Scotland. What did you learn when you did a bushcraft course, and was it actually useful when you were traveling around the world?
The courses I did were for personal interest. It was not to prepare for the World Bicycle Tour, but for sure it gave me confidence in myself that in a survival type situation, I had some background and some abilities. I never really needed it, but just to have this in the toolkit, so to speak, is just a great thing to have in the back of your mind when things go sideways, that you can act on the situation. So in that sense, it was like for me, it was a boost of confidence to go out. In a majority of situation I could envision ourselves being in, I saw always the preparation that needed to be done, or to act in a moment to remain safe and sound.
How long was it between you deciding to go off around the world and you actually setting off? Are we talking weeks, months, years?
A year and a half.
Okay.
We were planning on doing, it's called Friluftsliv. Perhaps you heard of this concept. It's a Scandinavian idea. And I think kind of the translation can be Friluftsliv is free air living. That's kind of my translation of it. And it's a course for living with nature. It was in the same vein as those bushcraft courses, only then a dedicated course for a year and a really in depth. there are only like I think 20 places available, and it got really popular in the time that we were signing up. So we weren't selected for this course, and then we were all our hopes we had to go to Sweden for a year were suddenly just out of the window. Yeah, I was moping about a little bit, like it didn't work. And Maudi she's really pragmatic. Okay, it doesn't work. Completely a different kind of plan. And then she devised this idea about cycling across America. And I was like, you're gonna cycle across America? And I was like, this is kind of my dream. This is what I wanted to do since 2009. So I said to her, wouldn't it be great to cycle to the other side of the world together? And then in this pretty magical moment, we decided to go for it. And then we changed our complete course. Everything we set out to do just shifted towards that goal, and we started working on it.
So when did you actually set off?
Beginning of May 2018.
Okay, so it took nearly 10 years since meeting or since being inspired in Portugal. It was almost 10 years until you actually did set off.
Yes, and one of the main things in that story is that I really didn't want to do it to do such a big adventure alone.
You presumably had to get hold of equipment, and obviously your YouTube channel. If you look at your YouTube channel now, you actually give quite a lot of advice about what equipment people should use or could use. When you originally set off in 2018, were you kind of very ignorant as to what kind of equipment you needed, or had you managed to build up quite a base of knowledge in terms of the bike and the kit, and also, because you make videos, all the technological equipment that you needed to take?
So yeah, there's a lot of answers there. First of all, I think perhaps for people, one of the biggest hurdles is wild camping. I speak to lots of people who do cycle touring, and the majority of them stay in Airbnbs or hostels or maybe on a camping. For our budget, that was not an option. It would have been too expensive. And there, the survival and bushcraft courses just really came into their own. So I was kind of kind of lucky with that. I did extensive amounts of wild camping before we went on this big journey towards Southeast Asia, and it is like in the Netherlands we say, like if you have a shot of alcohol you take, it's like we say a slok op een borrel. It's like when you it's difficult to explain perhaps in English. It changed the whole approach, or perhaps it didn't change because we didn't have to prepare for wild camping, or because we already knew that from previous experience. So that's that. The camping was for us was easy. And then for the bike, I had this old mountain bike, and I had this project to revamp the bike because it was getting old, and the bottom bracket wasn't turning correctly anymore. So I made this project with a friend of mine, and it never got finished. In the end, the whole bike went in a box with all the separate parts, and I was always bummed out about the fact that I didn't finish that project. It really some in the back of my mind it kept nagging, like, you didn't finish this project, you didn't finish this project. Before heading out, I really wanted to have a good sense of what bicycle mechanics were. So I made this kind of promise with myself that I would find a bike and totally overhaul it to touring specifications. So I was completely aware of every nut and bolt on the bike, all the components. If we ever would run into a problem, I knew exactly what to do. And not everything is fixable in the field, but I would know exactly how to talk to a local mechanic to fix things. I saw it also as a responsibility towards myself and towards Maudi as well. Her bicycle mechanic skills are kind of non-existent. So she relies on me for changing a tire or changing a chain or something.
So the bike you're talking about, is it I've got a picture of a bike which is on your Facebook page. Is it the Silver Giant that you made?
No, the Silver Giant actually is the bike of Maudi's father. That's a
Okay.
bike he bought in the Netherlands, but he brought to Spain, and that's the one. It was a very cheap bike as well, and I had some spare parts lying about, so I built it up to a touring bike. Excellent platform. Perhaps the aluminium is not the most ideal for like a really long haul adventure. I would suggest a steel, but my bike is kind of a similar giant, perhaps about the same time frame, kind of a 90s mountain bike. Also in the Boulder series, this is also a Boulder aluminium light, if I'm correct, the silver one. And the one I bought in a kind of a barn sale was 40 euros, was a steel one. Well, a little bit different, it was a little bit geared towards between a mountain and a city bike.
And
So
I'm
as a,
looking at another picture now. This is the a light brown with a Brooks saddle.
yeah,
Is that the bike you're talking about?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Okay. Well, if I looked at that picture and because it obviously you've got your panniers on it and you've got a Brooks saddle, you've also got a suspension thing on the seat post. You've got the smaller wheels, which certainly at the time were very, very popular for people traveling by bike. That looks to me like a probably quite an expensive touring bike, but by the sounds of it, it wasn't.
Because our tour was like a year and a half away. I started early, and we have kind of this. It's called Marktplaats. It's like a marketplace website. You can find secondhand parts there, or everything secondhand. Actually, I just put out these searches for certain, like Brooks saddle or tubus racks or the suspension. It's the Cane Creek Thudbuster. I put out all these search terms, and it took a while, but in the end, I found most parts, even some just brand new, never used, but for secondhand prices. So it was kind of a long project, but in that way, I could really get the price down. It's still not a cheap bike by any stretch. The components on there are high quality and really durable. I also had the frame welded on for some parts, extra bottle cage bosses, and also a kickstand plate beneath the bottom bracket, which for us was kind of crucial because we film a lot and you don't want to smack your bike on the ground all the time. It's just nice
Mm.
to put it on the kickstand and take a shot. So long project, but so worth it in my opinion. It's just for me again, just like when you do these bushcraft and survival courses. Also, this project gave me a lot of confidence going forward into like a world tour.
And was it a similar situation with Maudi's bike? Did she already have a bike, or did she have to build one up from scratch like you did?
It was crazy actually. I went to a meditation retreat for 10 days, and then when I came back, she just bought a bike on a whim, and it was just like this secondhand Koga Miyata. The frame was still built in Japan. It was just like I was just flabbergasted. It was like like with all these high end Dior parts on it, and I was like, whoa, this is a great looking bike, but it was a bit small. But we managed to find some like a really long front stem for her to sit more upright, and we tinkered it with it for a little bit to get it up to her ergonomics, and yeah, she was good to go. That's a fantastic bike.
How do you say Koga?
Koga.
Koga. I've got a Koga, and
Mm-hmm.
I call I
Koga.
I call it a Koga, but I should say Koga.
Koga.
Koga. Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Mark Beaumont, the British Scottish cyclist, he had a Koga Mayata when he went round the world, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. Of course, completely different bike platform for him for the endurance and the speed with no panniers. Just one athlete. Just what he did was mind blowing in a way.
But that was the second time. When he went round the first time, he
Yeah,
also had a Kocha
yeah.
Mayata, presume perhaps I don't know, perhaps Maudi bought his bike. You never know. Although I think it's now in a museum somewhere.
Probably, yeah. And I think also Mark is a pretty a big guy, so he probably had a better frame size. I hope for him
Yeah.
than
Um,
than what Maudi has.
so you've got your bikes, you've got your equipment, you've got your knowledge through your bushcraft courses, etc. And you decide to set off in 2018, and your ambition is to get to the other side of the world. You've already mentioned that Maudi had mentioned cycling across America. Which way did you decide to go, and what was your basic route?
Yeah, we contemplated several options going down to Africa, like Peter Gostelow did. But we looked at Africa, and it's still one of those places I really would love to visit. But we're always joking about it. It's kind of the university of bicycle touring. To go there, the Maudi's been to Africa a couple of times. The people are fantastic, but it's quite overwhelming. Like we settled on this idea of wanting to start at our own doorstep, just cycle away. Like it was kind of for us the way to go. And then you don't have a lot of choices. A lot of people cycle towards Southeast Asia, and I think there's something really um, there's a straightforwardness in cycling east. Like you start from the UK, for example. When you cycle away, the surroundings are still very familiar, and then you come to the Europe mainland, for example. Everything is different, but still very familiar. You can probably talk to the majority of the people, and slowly but surely, everything changes around you, and that was just really interesting to see the culture change, to see the landscape change, to see the seasons change. It was really the way we thought about it. It turned out that we were kind of correct in our idea that this slow change would also aid us into settling into the journey like really well. So great choice.
So you get to the edge of Europe. Did you go through Turkey or?
Yes.
So you get into Turkey. Now, the next bit is the problematic bit, because obviously there are countries where there are difficult situations or you're not allowed to travel through. So how did you get from Turkey on the next stage through the Middle East and towards Asia?
Such a super interesting stretch of our journey, the Middle East. I have to say, it's a life-changing experience to go there. The hospitality is on another level. It's just absolutely incredible. Turkey still is one of our favorite countries to cycle through. People are so friendly, so warm. And then onto Iran, which was like a notch more intense in Iran. People are way more sheltered from the outside world, and they really take an interest in foreigners, just to have I guess, a sense of what the Western world is about. You're kind of an ambassador for another part of humanity for them, and that's really reflects the experience. It's just so much attention that at some points it became a little bit too much, especially for Maudi. Through Iran, we went to Dubai and then to Oman, and our plan was always to cycle back up again through Iran, but then we decided on flying to Georgia. In Georgia, I was also just like the contrast between this Middle Eastern part, like living for 9 months in Iran and in perhaps 6 months. I'm exaggerating there. Turkey and Iran and Oman and that part of Arabia to Georgia was like a culture shock in a way. Ex-Soviet state with some European kind of vibes to it. Super interesting. And from there to Azerbaijan, where we took the boat over the Caspian Sea to Kazakhstan. And there was this huge stretch of about 2 or 3 weeks of cycling, probably 3 weeks in our daily mileage. And because you're cycling with two people, you're always discussing the best options. And I was in the beginning, I was really stubborn. We plotted a line, and the line is the line, and we have to stay on the line, and we have to do this mileage every day. And Maudi talked some sense into me, and so we skipped a bit in Kazakhstan onto Uzbekistan, and from there we went into Tajikistan, always thinking that when we got to Kyrgyzstan we would get a visa for China. But this hope was based on a blog post I read 3 years prior, that in Bishkek you were able to get the visa for that part of China. But when we were approaching, this was not an option anymore. So we were kind of stuck in this corner because we couldn't enter China like we wanted to perhaps cycle through China or go into Pakistan and then down into India. We were contemplating that route. But then we were kind of stuck, do we go into Mongolia or into Russia? And the Russia visa was like a really big hassle. So in the end, we decided to fly to Japan in the hope to get the visa for China in Tokyo, which failed spectacularly. So that was kind of our Middle East adventure in a nutshell.
So you decide to go because of the problems with the visa, you decide to go to Japan, but unfortunately you can't get a visa in Japan either. Is Japan your final destination? Is that where it finishes?
The plan was to go through China into Southeast Asia. And then probably Southeast Asia was kind of perhaps we would go down to Malaysia and then Indonesia. We contemplated that. But we're also thinking about flying back to Europe and cycling for 6 more months through the south of Europe and really end the trip cycling back home, just like the way we cycled away. When we would cycle back, everything slowly would become familiar again. And then at the finishing line, the reunion with family and friends, that was kind of our dream scenario. So Japan, we were in Japan for 3 months cycling there. Such a great place, also for a beginner cyclist. Really easy to wild camp there if you're respectful, and of course leave no trace. A super interesting place to visit. Everything is so convenient. In the most far-flung places, you can get like a good bite to eat or a coffee or. Japan was absolutely great. And then we flew to Bangkok, and from there we did a loop up north to the north of Laos into Vietnam, the north, and then down. And then when we were in the north of Vietnam, COVID hit. There was these images we saw from Europe where people were hamstring. That's what we say in the Netherlands. I don't know if that's like a term you use in English, but they were hamstring toilet paper. That like the supermarkets were empty, no toilet paper and cookies to be found. Really strange images. So we were like in our little bubble world, because that is what it's like when you're out on a bicycle tour with two people, perhaps even more. That you're in this bubble. Like we have this kind of a mini culture between the two of us speaking Dutch, and then of course trying to interact with the locals on a different level. And in our little bubble, we were like really not sure what was going on, so we were relying on friends and family to send us some news. We tried to feel the pulse of the situation in Vietnam itself. And things were escalating in some places. Like we heard, there was this Dutch group that was held hostage in a hotel with people with guns in front of the door because perhaps one of the guests was diagnosed or was sick or something. So we were like whoa, okay, this stuff is really firing off. And so we managed to get to Cambodia. And there it slowly started to lock down. Like we already had tickets to fly to Lisbon. We had our Airbnb booked. Everything was set to arrive and to continue our journey. But then just one after one, all the countries closed up. Spain, Italy, and then also Portugal. And we were like, yeah, okay, we can fly to Portugal, but we would be stuck in Portugal as well. So perhaps maybe a little bit better than being stuck in Thailand, but we couldn't be sure. Like the severity of the situation was not yet known. We almost got stuck in quarantine on the border with Thailand. We managed to get out of Cambodia, but then the officials, I had like this slight raise in temperature, so I had to go in and do like another like temperature test. I passed that one, and then we were free to go. But we could have also been stuck in quarantine there for 14 days on the border, and then we for sure would have missed our flight. But now we had enough time to actually we had to go to the airport to change our ticket to Amsterdam. Like Maudi, yeah, props to Maudi. She spent like this 9 hours at the airport, just going from one booth to another, just to talk to all kinds of different parties, to change these tickets. We had to Lisbon to go to Amsterdam. It would have been really easy. It would have been like an email or a chat, or maybe a phone call away. But at that time, it was really crazy. There were people trying to flee the country. And when we were at the airport, there was just like still streams of all kinds of visitors coming in from all kinds of places. So a really strange situation. But we managed, or actually Maudi managed to swap out the tickets, and then we were set to head back to Amsterdam again.
So that's the end of your trip around the world, and you did succeed. You did get to the other side of the world, and you did get to Southeast Asia, obviously interrupted, to say the least, by COVID. Now, I mentioned this earlier. One of the reasons, or probably the main reason why people know about you and Maudi is through Wheels to Wander, and specifically the YouTube channel. Now, you've made a good number of videos all about cycle touring, including videos about the journey that you've just been talking about. That's quite a time-consuming thing to do, especially if you're doing it when you're traveling. Were you editing, were you publishing these videos while you were actually traveling, or did you wait until you came back to the Netherlands?
Actually, we started editing out on the road. We wanted to make this document for ourselves, family and friends in the first place. And then, of course, we were inspired by other YouTubers as well. Shout out to Ali Denham from Cycling About. He was a big inspiration. Also Ed Pratt from the UK on his unicycle.
Mm-hmm.
And Johan, I'm really struggling with his last name, from the Bike Wanderer. Perhaps you know him as well. Really sad. He took his own life because he had troubles with insomnia. But he was on a big journey from the north of America, the far north, to Patagonia. Really interesting, gentle soul, like really remote cycling by himself. And he was also like a big inspiration. I would urge people to check out his channel as well. Johan Gorguyev. He is original. I believe he's from Bulgaria, and he immigrated to Canada. But several people online inspired us to go and do our adventure. We got a lot of knowledge from online websites. For example, RJ the Bike Guy. He's on YouTube as well. I learned a lot from him about bicycle mechanics. If you want to know something really specific, he has multiple videos on all kinds of really in-depth topics. And all these people together, they gave us the confidence to go out. In that sense, it's truly a community of bicycle tourists. And we, of course, we also hoped when we were making videos that other people perhaps would get some inspiration for their own adventures, and of course to entertain people.
Isn't it quite time consuming making videos and then editing them? Okay, you're on a bike all day, and well, you're not probably on a bike all day. You're on a bike for a good number of hours per day. Does it get to a point where you are fighting the urge to keep moving, keep traveling, and also managing to produce the videos, film the videos, or was it just a seamless mixing of two tasks that really, was part and parcel of the journey?
It kind of unfolded that way. When we started filming, we knew we wanted to do that. But then you have to start editing. Both Maudi nor myself are video editors. Perhaps now for a little bit, but back in the days, yeah, we could edit. We had some experience with video editing, but not on this scale at all. And that was another journey besides the traveling, just to get into this whole video editing thing with storytelling, pacing, audio, and it's quite involved. And we're a little bit perfectionistic, so we wanted to do a good job. And when you see your results, and you look back at it, you always see like, that could have been a little bit better. And then you start to polish up your next edits. Yes, it's very time consuming. I have to say, like a video takes about 24 to 32 hours to do right. And that's what we did beside the traveling. Super lucky that we both really like to do, like taking shots, but also the video editing. So it was like a truly a collaboration between the both of us, and we would switch video editing tasks. So Maudi did one edit, I did the other, and then every other would be the same person. That made for like a really busy schedule, kind of nonstop work. It was cycling, and you have a lot of experience with bicycle touring too. So perhaps if you wild camp, you have to find your place to feel safe, and then you have to put up the tent, you have to cook, and then you have to blow up your mat, and before you know it, there's just these hours tick by, and then in the morning the kind of the reverse ritual. The bicycle touring itself, we actually thought we had like seas of time, like we took this little small guitar, and like we really thought we would have a lot of like loads of time just to play and to frolic around. And but with the video editing and taking shots, it was like ever encompassing thing to do. So yeah, it was really time consuming, but also the people started following us, and we got the initial comments that were really positive and really encouraging. So it was like we put out the videos, and immediately we got like a great response from the people watching, and that was really the kind of the fire underneath the whole project.
I make videos and I make podcasts when I'm traveling, but I'm one of those people who you mentioned earlier. I don't wild camp. I like staying in campsites, hostels. Occasionally I stay in a hotel, and that means that I'm never more than 24 hours from a plug. I just kind of recharge all the batteries. The phone, the camera, the GoPro, the drone, they're all plugged in, and you can just every 24 hours fill your batteries. But if your approach is to wild camp, and I would imagine you were wild camping for successive days in quite remote areas. So how did you practically manage to keep all your cameras, your computer charged in order to be able to make those videos?
Yeah, that's a great question. In the beginning, especially in Europe, taking a hotel was really expensive. Was really out of our budget, in the sense that if we would have taken like lots of hotels, in the end our budget would be gone. So we kind of figured that when we hit Turkey, our hotels would be a lot more affordable, and it was. And then kind of when we hit Turkey, the video editing really took off, because then every week we could take 2 days in a hotel, like 3 nights and 2 full days, like every week or every 10 days. Because we tried video editing in the tent, it's really uncomfortable video editing in a tent. It's and also the power is gone in like maybe an hour and a half or something on your laptop. Yeah, to be able to charge all your Video gear, like you say, it's just really difficult. You have to have or a super huge power bank, like perhaps even like a battery pack or something, or solar panels. With all these cameras, like two cameras, a drone, like an action camera, and then two laptops. It just drains like a simple battery in no time. So it's really not really feasible to go wild camping and also do your editing in the wild. So we wild camped, and then for the video editing, we stayed stationary for a couple of days, like do these bursts of video editing days, and then we set out again, and then somehow we managed to upload every 2 weeks.
And I've got all your videos in front of me now. I'm just looking, I'm scrolling through the videos on YouTube. They look very professional, and the ones that I've watched certainly are very professional. But there's a change. Obviously, while you're traveling, they're travelogues and you're giving information about what you've done and the people that you meet. But then more recently, you've given or you've made quite a lot of videos which are how to advice about doing this, kit advice, kit recommendations, and things like that. At what point did you feel confident enough to feel as though you were able to then start giving advice to people in the same way that you got the advice back in 2009 from the guy in Portugal?
Perhaps it has to do with all the questions we got in the comments. So many people asked about the kit or about perhaps a headspace approach to bicycle touring, or so many questions. And then you start wondering, perhaps I could put this in a video for people to watch, have all the information in one place to give some value, like some true value for people to go on their own adventures. It's perhaps for me a little bit, for my personality, a little bit more easy than for Maudi, so to speak, to get in front of a camera and to talk about. I have to say it's not easy talking in a foreign language, like on the top of your head without people asking questions. You have to make up like the conversation as you're going. It's not easy. So I have my tricks for that. But it's always the hope to give back some value to people to tackle their own adventures, and hopefully we're also succeeding with that.
Do you have a favorite video?
I think our last series in Morocco, which by the way Maudi edited all the videos for that series, that was a different approach. We filmed and we didn't edit in Morocco itself. So when we got back home, Maudi edited all the videos. I did some other behind the scenes things, and the adventure itself, perhaps also because it's our last adventure till date, it's something that's still fresh in the mind. And we also stepped from full HD to 4K. I think in the third video, we make the switch to 4K. And it's just like the crispness of the images. We didn't really realize what a big difference it would be. And yeah, it's one of these things that you can't like pedal back. It's like 4K all the way now. So yeah.
Since returning back from Southeast Asia, you have done a lot of cycle touring in Europe, and I'm just again scrolling through your videos. Obviously, apart from the Netherlands, you've been to Spain, you've been to Iceland, but you've also, I'm interested to see, been to Britain, England and Scotland and Wales. So, what are your thoughts about cycle touring in Britain?
It's fantastic, truly fantastic. The thing is that in Britain, it's really easy to talk to people because our language skills are on such a level that we can have quite in-depth conversations. It's like really hard in the Middle East, like hardly anybody speaks English there. So it's really difficult to get like to like a deeper level. And somehow also the British people have this, they can be a bit quirky, like these quirky characters that come out of nowhere wanting to talk to you. It's just fantastic. It's just, yeah, we really love it. It's just like you feel welcome in a really different way, like a really open-hearted, perhaps like a jolly. I'm not sure. I don't mean it in a kind of a funny way, but in a really open-minded, positive kind of spirit that people want to talk to you. And we had the most fun conversations in Britain. And besides that, the countryside is beautiful. We started in Devon, hard cycling, but really beautiful with all the hedges, and then onto Somerset, which was a little bit less interesting, but the cider was great if you like those kind of things. And then into Wales. Wales is really spectacular. In Scotland, I've been 5 times to Scotland already, but it was really nice to see the lowlands. And yeah, Britain is really special to us in a way. We've been there quite a few times now, and cycling there is like really a joy. So I can't recommend it enough.
I think well, obviously I live in Britain and that's where I do most of my cycling. And I've just come back from Scotland after 2 weeks in Shetland and Orkney. And
Mm.
I think, well, Dutch people, they live in a country which is basically built for cycling. And I can't imagine, it's quite strange hearing what you say there. I take on board the fact that, okay, the countryside's pretty, and, if you go to Wales and you go to Scotland, you've got spectacular mountains. But just the conditions of being a cyclist and not really being respected by other road users,
Mm.
I think if I were Dutch, I would find that very, very, very frustrating. No?
Perhaps because we have experience in other places in the world, that perhaps Britain is not so bad with all these kind of aggressive road users. What's it called again? It's like the Great Britain Divide route, if I'm correct, or something like it. We use that as a backbone. It's like this. I think it's kind of a watershed kind of line. One part sheds off to the North Sea, and the other one into the Irish Sea, and the other seas around. And it was just like, for us, we are like transitioning a little bit more into bikepacking, trying to take the unpaved routes, getting into nature a little bit more. And then combined with these back routes in Wales, for example, we didn't have too much trouble with traffic. I have to say, it was like for us it was okay. Perhaps when you're native, yeah. Also when I'm here in the Netherlands, before we left, I was like, yeah, the Netherlands, yeah, it's a great country to live, but it's not that beautiful. Where I live is below the sea level. Everything is flat. Everything is in a grid. Like everything is man-made. So it's in a way it's quite boring. Perhaps one of the reasons to go on a big adventure is you want to see other horizons. You want to see what's the culture there, what's the nature over there like, and get inspired by that. And Britain for us has that super interesting factor of lovely, like really enjoyable countryside, like this milk and honey kind of feeling. And then, but also then in Wales, and especially in Scotland, this rough and like clouds and this ominous kind of feeling it can have from time to time. In the Netherlands, it's more like, yeah, it's the cycling is like super easy, but then again, it's also for us, yeah, I've been cycling all my life, so for me that there is no novelty there, so it's perhaps not that interesting, not appealing. Although I went on a tour recently through the central green heart of the Netherlands, off road, and it was absolutely spectacular. I recommend it to everybody who's in the neighborhood to check it out. The Utrechtse Heuvelrug and the Veluwe National Parks. It's beautiful. But then in Britain, it's like the culture, because we also grew up in this, what I hinted to previously, in this Anglo-Saxon kind of worldview with a lot of television from Britain, with Faulty Towers and the Young Ones and all these kind of shows from back in the days. And also all the cartoons were in the English language as well, or the majority of them were. So for us, it's always fascinating to see the places we heard about so much from television shows or just from the news in general. So it's always this extra cultural layer, and because you're the neighbors across the sea, for us it remains very interesting cultural phenomenon to try and dissect and get to know a little bit better.
It's interesting. I suppose, yeah, everything is comparative. Perhaps there are probably a lot of places around the world where it is more difficult to be a cyclist than even in Britain. It's interesting that you mentioned bike packing there in Wales, because one thing that I see from your videos is that you've not really embraced the bike packing style. Your bikes have still got their panniers. You cycle as a traditional cycle tourist rather than bike packers. Is there a reason why you haven't dispensed with your panniers and just gone down that bike packing route of the smaller bags on the frame and things like that?
Yeah, it's perhaps we're transitioning to more kind of a hybrid style. We have frame packs now, which are absolutely great. Shout out to Merit Gear. They made these packs for us. Fantastic couple of guys. They work from Amsterdam, and I can really recommend them. So shout out to them. One of the reasons to still go with panniers is because we are filming, and we have a tripod, several cameras, a drone, lots of batteries, and all the accessories you need. So kind of a place to dump them in, a pannier, is just really convenient for us. And also the lightweight gear of these bike packing styles, it's great, fantastic to go lightweight, but it's not as durable. And we're always looking into like to do the right investment because our budget is limited, and yeah, this is what we have. So going with a hyper expensive ultralight tent with these minimal bags, it looks great, but it's also out of our budget. And then again, it's just not always a question of updating everything you have. It's just also kind of a mindset to perhaps go where you didn't went before. And until now, with our setup, we've done like pretty brutal off-road stretches, and it's fairly manageable. It's perhaps of course with a titanium bike and this Dyneema composite tents and everything, like this super lightweight setup with minimal stuff with you, is super interesting. And of course, I would love to try it. But perhaps that's a route we'll take in the future. And but for now, it just works. And I think for the majority of the people starting with their bicycle touring or bikepacking journey, things don't have to be this super expensive, lightweight bikes. And but if you want to go that route, Decathlon has some really nice options nowadays. Other brands as well. So that's the way we go about that.
You mentioned at the beginning Wheels to Wander 2.0. So what is Wheels to Wander 2.0?
Before we went bicycle touring, as I mentioned, I did these survival and bushcraft courses, and also we did some extensive hikes in Scandinavia, also in Scotland, and a little bit of Britain in the north. That was kind of our first passion together, hiking, and we really would love to explore some more hiking trails around Europe. And also for years now, I've been really curious, and Maudi as well, to get onto the water and explore the world from the water's edge. So that's kind of this 2.0 idea, is that we still wanted to keep it like human powered adventures, but also to branch out to kind of other disciplines.
You're going to have to change your name.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we've nearly finished, but just finally, if you were giving some advice to yourself back in 2009, and I suppose giving advice to somebody in 2024 who is perhaps inspired by you and Maudi to set off and go on a long journey, perhaps even all the way around the world, what would your advice be?
In 2009, I got inspired by Peter Gostelow, and this seed was planted in the back of my head. And in the meantime, I watched a lot of documentaries. Also, Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman, they did these Long Way Down and Long Way Round series. Super inspiring. Was kind of the water for this seed to grow in the back of my mind. I would say just be inspired, and don't hesitate if you want to to fulfill your dream. It will take some sacrifice, but it will bring you probably more than the sacrifice you make.
Okay, well, thank you for that. It's fascinating to talk to somebody who has done all the different journeys that you've done. Have you got anything planned imminently on the bike or on a canoe or on foot?
I'm currently deciding. I have some weeks off coming up, so I'm now currently deciding. But it's 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 kind of a luxury problem now that the things that are close by don't seem to be as interesting for me as they perhaps used to do in the past. So I'm kind of undecided at the moment. Will I go to Scandinavia, or perhaps Ireland, or to Germany? It's a little bit up in the air at the moment, but there are some things coming up, and it will be not with Maudi. It will be by myself. That's also a thing I'm now growing to love. Just this time with yourself, and to relax, to wind down, and to contemplate just the things that happened and perhaps are about to happen. So I'm looking very much forward to that, even if I don't know where I'm going yet.
And if people want to get in contact, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
They can go hit us up on our email address, wheels2wonder@gmail.com. We try and answer everybody there. It could take a while because we get quite some emails. So sometimes it takes a little while. And then we have our Instagram, also Wheels to Wonder. People can send a direct message over there. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, thank you, and happy cycling in the future.
Thanks so much, Andrew.
Thank you to Eric of Wheels to Wander, and apologies to Maudi. I think I mispronounced her name right at the beginning. But thank you to Eric for taking part, and hopefully some of you will be inspired by what he said, just as he was inspired by Peter Gostelow all those years ago. Right, that's it for episode 84 of the Cycling Europe podcast. You can, of course, get in contact. You can visit cyclingeurope.org/contact, and you'll find all the means of getting in contact over there. If you'd like to support the podcast, then please do. You can either offer a rating or a review on the podcast platform where you're listening, or if you'd like to support the podcast financially, you can do that. And again, all the information is at cyclingeurope.org/support. So that's it for episode 84. No idea what episode 85 will be. It's not been recorded yet, and I have nobody lined up, but that's my job over the next few weeks, is to try and find somebody. Perhaps it's you. If you'd like to take part, then get in contact. In the meantime, enjoy the autumn and happy cycling. And I've done it again. I've forgotten to thank Rob Ainsley for the music. So thank you, Rob, for the music. I hope you made it right to the end of the podcast. Here's the bell.